Hello, my name is Phil and welcome back to another video of Vermont's 100 covered bridges. Now before you switch off thinking, well, where's the bridge and I'm not ankle deep in water, we are going to a bridge. It's recycle day and I've got to put the recycling out before we go, which is actually quite apt because today we're going to go and visit a recycled bridge. Before we get there, we're going to go and visit where it used to stand, and we're going to look at the reason why it had to be removed and then why it was transferred 22 miles away to where it's situated now. So if you want to come with us, put your seatbelt on, you can come with us on the journey, and we're even going to pass a couple or so covered bridges on the way. So I'm here on Island Road, which is in West Townsend. Now I'm just going to turn the camera around. Obviously that's a straight road down, but then you can see here how the bend in the road goes to the right. The reason I'm telling you that is because it'll become clear later on. I'm now going to go where no man has boldly gone probably in the last few weeks because of this crazy snow that you can hear me crunching into. I'm just going to get the other side of this barrier and I'll fill you in more. Of all the films I brought to you, and probably will, this is probably the most dangerous, and I'm actually on land, not in water, but I'm traipsing down this place. Oop. And as you see, I'm going to stand still and talk to you. So why am I going down here? Because clearly there's nothing down here. Over 100 years ago, 150 years ago, this was Mill Street. Called Mill Street because there was a few mills down here, would you believe? The name later changed to Depot Street, or if you're watching this in Britain, Depot Street. The reason is because in the late 1870s, a railway line was actually added down here. So you've got mills and railway lines. They must have had good snow ploughs back in the 1800s to get down here. And of course then the other reason for, or the main reason, the only reason for being down here is there was a covered bridge. And that is the theme for today. It's because that bridge is no longer here, understandably, but the bridge still exists, and that's where the recycling theme comes into it. And the other thing you may notice is when I left home about 3-4 minutes ago, on the video it was in nice sunshine and I was wearing t-shirt and shorts or whatever it was I was wearing. So there's no continuity involved in that because it took me a couple of weeks to get here. I'm only 20 minutes down the road, and by the time I realised I need to get here because I've got to get this episode out, we've had about 3 or 4 snowfalls, and the accumulation I'm now walking on. But there is a reason for coming down here, and let's see how far we can get. I'm now at the bottom and I'm actually following in some animals' footsteps. No idea what that is. So I made it to the bottom of the road. It would have come down here. You can still see the curve. It would have come down here, and I'm very reluctant to go much further because there's a lot of water, little streams, creeks, troughs and stuff, which again I'll go into. There's actually nothing here. There's no reference point down here to anything. No mills, no railway station, no railway line, no covered bridge. Two pieces of reference though is this stream that's going through here, and if you just look closely at the top of the hill, and I'll zoom in, you can hopefully see that church, the little tower on the side of that church. Now I wanted to show you more down here, as I say, the weather beat me, because just over here is the West River, and obviously I can't go to it. I'm hoping you can hear me with the wind, but I'm going to get out of here because A, it's cold, B, I'm on my own, and C, there's no signal on my phone. So I'm going to get back out of here, and I'll let the maps and the picture tell the rest of the story here. So let's take a look. This is a current map. Here we have Route 30, and here is Island Road. You can see the turn to the right on it, and I'm somewhere around here. As you can see, here's the West River, and all these various channels, runoffs, gullies that made a couple of islands. To give you a better idea of this is how it looked over 100 odd years ago. In fact, this map predates the railway, because here is Mill Street, as you can see there, and we'll focus on this corner. Mill Street goes right to the river, which is at the bottom, and I reckon this stream here is probably the one I just focused in, where I was stood. Now, a lot of sources say that the bridge went over Tannery Brook. Now, this here is Tannery Brook, and as you can see, Mill Street, Depot Street didn't go over the brook. Now, in his book, Vermont Covered Bridges by Joseph D. Conwell, he says that the bridge went over an overflow gully, which, when we go back to the modern day map, was either this one or this one here. And I found another map that pretty much confirms the site of the former bridge. Here's Island Road, and here's the overflow gully, which reaches further towards Island Road. The previous one, it ended a bit shorter. So clearly the depot bridge would have crossed the gully at this point. And it's fair to say that the gully pretty much most of the year would have been dry. It's only in the excessive floods would this area have had water flowing through it. Just for point of reference, here's the church, the chapel, that's at the top of the hill. So here we are with an overview of the site, and as you can see, the most prominent point of reference is the church at the top of the hill that's still there today, and then right here is the north portal of the Depot Bridge. So that is the exact site of the bridge. That's the railway station, and now you can see where there's actually a railway bridge there. And here's the West River, and it branches off. There's the main branch, and then we've got these runoffs and gullies and stuff that help with the flooding when it occurs. So it does make me wonder why they built the railway line on this site, given the fact it was prone to severe flooding over the time. I'm going to talk more about the West River Railroad in episode 14, but this is a great aerial shot that just gives us a glimpse of how it was with the railway line and all the mills back in the late 1800s. Now, the bridge's demise came about because in the middle 1950s the town planners for Townsend wanted to make a floodplain and that included building a dam. And it was dismantled. The bridge was dismantled in 1955 by the Army Corps of Engineers to clear the way for the flood control dam and the reservoir in Townsend. Now, since no place was found to have the bridge placed anywhere else, Vrest Orton, who was then the chairman of the Vermont Historical Site Commission, he had the bridge taken down and it was stored on a local farm. So as you can see, I'm now at the Vermont Country Store, and this is on the busy Route 103 in Rockingham. We're about 22 miles away from where the depot bridge was situated in West Townsend. Now, as you will recall, I mentioned that a guy called Vrest Orton had the bridge taken down in pieces and stored away on a farm. And Vrest Orton was the chairman of the Historical Site Commission, and he was going to build on this site originally a Victorian village. Now, that didn't quite come off, but instead he built the second of his country stores. Now, he was quite an interesting character in that he was Vermont born. He ended up in the First World War fighting against the Germans in the American Army. When he came back, he ended up in New York, and he became a writer. He was writing in magazines, he was writing books, and eventually he became a publisher. And he also opened his first country store in Weston in Vermont. During this time, he actually published one of the very first catalogues in America. It had 12 pages, and he was selling 36 items, 36 goods that he sold in his country store. Now, in 1968, he decided to open his second store here on this site. Now, on the site, there was a drainage ditch, and there was a very small wooden bridge which basically needed replacing in order for cars and other vehicles to be able to come over. And that's where Vrest had an idea. He remembered that 9 years ago he had a covered bridge in West Townsend taken down and stored in a local farm. And what he did was he went and collected it, and he had it put together, and this is now the Victorian Village covered bridge. So as you can see, the bridge has a name here, and people that come and visit it know it as the Vermont country store, the Kissing Bridge, which is more of a marketing gimmick than anything else. But anyway, let's go inside and explore this bridge. There's a great information board, everything I've pretty much said, and a little bit more you can read for yourself here. Now, the interesting thing, and what you've probably noticed already, is these lettering and numbering up on the beams. So when the bridge was taken down, piece by piece was given an identification tag, which was rather clever, because what that meant was when they came to put it back together, it was a lot easier to do than had they not done that. So there's a couple of things to point out. Firstly, it's a King's Post Truss, as you can see there. However, the original bridge in West Townsend was a Queen's Truss, so they did change that. The other thing is, the bridge in West Townsend was 85 feet long, and this is 44, so it's not quite, but almost half the size of the original 22 miles away. Now the name, the Kissing Bridge, comes from it's like a romantic story people like to tell, that when bridges were first made and a young man was riding on a horse and cart with his girlfriend, that they would stop or slow down whilst going over the bridge, and they could have a kiss, because disapproving adults weren't watching, and young people made the most of their little journey across the bridge. So the bridge now officially has 3 names. Its official title is the Victorian Village Covered Bridge, then there's the Kissing Bridge, and it's also fondly known and remembered as being the Depot Bridge, even though it is reconstructed using materials from the Depot Bridge. But it's a great bridge, and it's just fantastic to be here where thousands of people come and visit, but also pass by. Now, if you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll know that I do like to go under the bridges when I can, and today's no exception. So this is a drainage ditch, as you can see, just leading down off there and under here, and thankfully we haven't had any rain for quite a few months, so it's bone dry, as you can see. I like to hear there's a mixture of wood and stone to form the abutment. It's quite interesting that they got wood in there as well, and that's on both sides. This looks pretty new, as you can see, and if I can just zoom in down the spider's webs, you can see right under the bridge. I'll see if I can get out on the other side. I don't think, or I certainly hope, there's not going to be many other bridges that I can get under that are lower than this. Certainly not with water going through them. And here we go outside. Following the route where the water will come. And here we got the bridge. on this side. And here's the view. They're all the drivers going past on the Route 103 again as they go along. Now, it'd be rude of me to come all this way and to see the bridge and to not go into the store, so come and join me and we'll take a look what we can find inside. Before we go through the door, I just want to bring you a nice little story of an amazing meet I had with somebody the other week. We was at the Hall Covered Bridge not far from here, and a car came through, and as it passed us, the driver pulled over, and the driver got out, introduced himself as Mike Sheehy, and said that he and his wife Jan had been watching the series and they did wonder when I'd be coming to the Hall Covered Bridge. He then gave me a CD by artists called the Milk House Heaters, and explained that both he and his wife Jan were the artists. They were folk singers, and he said that they had done a song called The Kissing Bridge, which was a tribute to this actual bridge where we are today. And he said he gave me permission to use it, and I was really enthusiastic, because he's the first person who's come up and said, hey, I know you're doing these videos, but also because he gave me permission to use this song, and it fits in brilliantly. It was actually written about this bridge and the village store. So whilst I'm shooting around this store, I'm going to bring you the Milk House Heaters and the Kissing Bridge.
If you don't mind, I'm gonna make you mine. I'm gonna spend a little money on my honey's diamond ring, put a smile on her face and a song in her heart to sing. And if you don't mind, I'm gonna make her mine. I'll be hers and she'll be mine. We'll be together all the time. Can't drive a wedge big enough to change her mind. She'll be mine till the end of time. Take a drive to the country store and find a little bliss. Take a walk to the covered bridge and sneak a little kiss. If you don't mind, 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 you're gonna be mine till the end of time.
So thanks again once for joining me on this video. We went to see two places to see one bridge, recycling at its finest. Once again, I'd like to thank Vermont Covered Bridge Society for their great help and support throughout my series. Please check out their website, and if you can, join the society. The more members we have, the better. And that's it from me. I'll see you next week in another video.